And welcome back to Plaquemines Prep Rewind. As you see our goodies that we're going to get today. Got some onion rings and some hamburgers.
Cody was whining about the fact that he can never eat the seafood. So
thank you.
The good people at Salvo's brought us some hamburgers, which Cody always brags on.
Well, yeah, because I always brag on them. And now we get them, and we're going to be able to – you get to see exactly what they look like on camera.
The problem with this, I can't eat this while we're doing the show.
I know, and I told him to do that. So
that's why Cody makes me wear this microphone.
You'll have to hold off until the end of the show before you start eating, but you can't eat some onion rings.
You're going to see a battle of willpower here.
He's going to end up eating onion rings because he always eats.
I promise I'm staring him down now.
I know. Just save me one. That's all I want.
I'll do what I can.
Okay, back to football. And in Week 5 – we're going to start off with Belchase traveling to Vanderbilt. We already talked about a lot of their injuries that they had against East Jeff. Will those guys be back this week? It's going to tough turnaround. And Vanderbilt, they're 3-1, and since their opening loss,
my favorite little player down there.
Yeah, they've won by a combined score of 130-70. They beat St. Charles 36-33, where your guy had a ton of yards and a ton of touchdowns.
He essentially won the game by himself.
They beat Plaquemine 45-31, and a St. James team that's not your mom and dad St. James or even my St. James, 49-6. So the last 3 weeks, Elijah McGuire at quarterback has got this offense rolling, and the defense has been okay.
Now,
bend but don't break.
Perfect example is last year, Elijah McGuire was actually injured for the Belchase game. Belchase kind of rolled to a victory over Vanderbilt. Now the tables look like they might be turned this year, with Vanderbilt really coming in flying high. You talk about that 49-6 score. It was actually 46-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure
they gave up one late with
band members and whatnot were playing in the third and fourth quarters there.
Yeah.
So
Vanderbilt's, not to cut you off, but Vanderbilt is a lot better than what we thought they were. Elijah McGuire seems like he's been there forever.
Remember, we saw him for the first time as a true freshman on that team. So
yeah.
He's developing kind of the way we thought he would.
And, a couple weeks ago, people kept telling me that they're going to give Coach Harrison pretty much kind of like a little lanyap year because he had injuries going into the season with losing McClellan and then with Carroll with the bones, spurs in his knees, and now he lost his quarterback and potentially 2 other linemen. Mm-hmm. We don't know the severity of it because we're filming on a Saturday instead of a Tuesday because Jason's got other duties on a Tuesday.
I'm going to go see some other Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, good luck watching them playing for second place as my Reds are in first. But anyways, yeah, so I'm pretty sure that they're going to be at Tulane Medical Center because that's where usually all the Belchase kids go. They go over there to Tulane Medical Center, and they're going to be examined today. I'll put them as, like the NFL teams are questionable for a Friday night start. And if they don't have those guys back, it's going to be a long night in Houma.
It will be. Again, maybe the good thing is that now you get a week to kind of audition a few guys, see who can play quarterback. Yeah. Like we said, the only other quarterback we saw was a true freshman that played some late series in the McDonough game. I'm pretty sure he played against Clark. Obviously, we weren't there to see. But Terran Anclad, Dylan Parker did their best in that backfield. Even Dylan Parker looked a little nicked up towards the end of that game, but he's essentially trying to carry the whole team back there.
You're going to see them go into the more of the Hank Tierney probably style where it's the best athlete will be back at quarterback, and then that way if he's capable of throwing, he can. But if he's not, then he can always just run with the ball because that's pretty much that's how the Shaw offenses were back in the day. And I believe that that's what Coach Harrison's going to do. And he'll find the best available player to put there. More than likely, it probably will be Dylan Parker. Maybe he'll work on some passing a little bit this week. But, it's going to be a tough go for the Cardinals.
And Dylan Parker, if you watch, and, again, you'll see this game going forward, did attempt on kind of a pass option, like a halfback option pass through a really nice spiral down the field. He missed Terran Anclad maybe by about 3 feet, 4 feet. If they'd have completed that pass, they would have had the 7-0 lead. And then one of the funniest clips, if you go back and watch, you'll see Terran Anclad do what I thought was the funniest pump fake in the world as he pump faked with the ball or the hand that did not have the ball in it. And you'll actually see a couple of the East Jeff players kind of start to turn and then go, wait a minute, this guy did the ball's in his other hand. So, hopefully Coach Harrison can hold some auditions, teach them how to throw with the ball in their hands and see what they can do there.
And, of course, the game of the week for Week 5 is going to be South Plaquemines against Sophie B. Wright, not Sophie B. Hawkins. We have that right now. Sophie B. Wright is 2-2. They're averaging 34 points a game. even after a 52-6 loss this past week to Carver, but they give up 31. So they average 34, but they give up 31. They're led by the Oates brothers of Anthony and Antoine. Anthony's the quarterback.
No Hall, just 2 Oates.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
We'll be here all night.
Anyway, yeah, they're 2-2, and I mean, like I said, they're averaging 34 points a game, but South Plaquemines' offense has just been rolling.
Yeah, if you're scoring an average of 68 points a game,
Yeah.
really the only game they didn't do that in was 22 points against West St. John. Ain't too bad,
Right.
So that's going to be, it looks like a very high scoring game because Riverside really hadn't scored that many points in a game until they got to South Plaquemines. So this might be another track meet style game where it might look like arena football where whoever's got the ball last is going to win.
Sophie B. Wright has put up 50-something points already this year. They put up 40-something, like I said, averaging 34. But I don't know if they played a team that is at the caliber of South Plaquemines, and I know that they haven't played a team that's at the size of South Plaquemines.
Yeah, South Plaquemines has a very interesting mix this year. In the past, we used to always see that they had speed. They could outspeed you. It was kind of like an SEC team where they were just that much faster than everybody else on the field. But this year, they really do have some good size along that offensive, defensive line. And when you get to those smaller schools like Sophie B. Wright and like some of these other 2A teams, you don't get that kind of size. You might have one guy that's big or two guys that are big, but South Plaquemines really has it throughout the line. And that's one of the things that I think would be a deciding factor in this game against Sophie B. Wright.
Yeah, and then you go to week 6 where South Plaquemines is actually going to be traveling to Newman. Newman, of course, is led by Herb Tyler's son. His name is like Jahara Tyler, but they can just call him Jay Tyler. He's only 5'6".
Yeah, he's a little guy, but he's got some abilities.
Yeah, he's thrown for a couple hundred yards they've won 2 straight against Miller McCord. They beat him 32-20. And your favorite team, Clark, they beat him 48-8.
That's closer than Clark plays most games, so maybe that tells you Newman's not as good as we think.
Well, and they lost to McMain 33-42, and they play Carver this week. So that's going to be a big test.
We'll know a lot more this week, I think.
About Newman. But, again, South Plaquemines' size, I think, is going to take the toll because, Tyler's a good athlete, but he doesn't really have much around him.
No, he doesn't. I believe – I don't know if Kendall Bussey's son is still there. I don't remember if he graduated last year.
Well, they had a Bussey and they had Andrew.
Yeah, so they –
Gibby's son.
So there's a lot of connections all around there.
Yeah.
But, again, I think that the size of South Plaquemines will be – a big factor in that game. Newman, again, when you look at who they've played so far this year, it's hard to really gauge where they stand.
Right.
Because I wouldn't think that Miller McCoy would give them that much of a game. They did. Clark scoring 8 points. Hey, they gave up a 2-point conversion to Clark. Nobody else has done that yet.
Well, yeah, and they're kind of like we were talking about your boys, Shaw being a Jekyll and Hyde, but Newman's been a Jekyll and Hyde too. You don't really know what you're going to get with them each week. If they come out and they play Carver, which, of course, this is taped before the Carver game, but if they play Carver to a pretty good game, then I'd worry about Newman a little bit. But if they get blasted by Carver, then I think South Plaquemines is going to have a nice walk-away victory.
Yeah, you're right. I tend to agree with that assessment. We really won't know until we see what the Carver Rams do with Newman.
Again, one of them games for South Plaquemines at the beginning of the year that we thought would go the other way. But
now
good news for Coach Figueroa is
differently.
his first season is those teams are not as good. Where you talk about Coach Harrison, as they're going to be playing Shaw this week, well, week 6, should I say, and those teams are actually better than what we thought that they would be. And talking about Shaw, they're 1-2. Got an opening win against Fisher, yay! And then, but they've been outscored 90-49 the last 2 weeks. Of course, that 56-49
49
game,
of those all came in one game.
Yeah, 56-49 against Jesuit. And they got blanked by Holy Cross.
And like you just said, Jekyll and Hyde. Quentin Gibson, throws for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. They were beating Jesuit. Jesuit scored with 18 seconds left to win the game.
Yeah, and he throws for 500 yards against a team like Jesuit who's way better than Holy Cross.
Yeah.
And something happened in that Holy Cross game, and they just I don't know what they did.
Maybe Gibson dislocated his arm on one of those 40-something passes in that game.
Yeah, and the good news for Belchase going into that game is before Shaw has to play Belchase, Shaw's got to play St. Aug. So Coach Crutchfield's going to try and do Coach Harrison a little favor and maybe ding up a couple of those Shaw Eagles. And Coach Bainesfather's football team might be that Shaw Belchase game might end up looking like a mash unit.
Yeah, really. It's going to be whoever's left to play.
Yeah.
And really, Shaw, we kind of thought about it going in, as Quentin Gibson goes, so is going to go that Eagle offense. And you saw it against Jesuit, which, again, amazing because Jesuit is really one of the, not really a surprise, but a very powerful team in 5A.
Yeah.
And you go to Holy Cross, who had just gotten pretty much handled by Jesuit pretty easily, and then Holy Cross does a number on Shaw. So it may depend on which Shaw team shows up. If this air raid attack of Quentin Gibson shows up, Belchase might have a problem with that. But if Belchase can find a way to shut that down, if their defensive backs, which do look like they're kind of a strength on this team, can contain the receivers and whatnot for Shaw, then Belchase might be able to win that. But again, also a lot of that's going to have to do it with whatever Belchase has left on offense.
Yeah, I do think that now the strength of that Belchase team is the defense, because the offense was explosive. But with those injuries, I think you're going to have to lean to the defense. I think Coach Myers is probably going to have a pretty good game plan against Shaw. And, Shaw's got some Belchase connections. The running backs from his family's from Belchase. The linebackers' family's from Belchase. And Shaw's going to have to run the ball against Belchase. I don't think Gibson's going to be able to throw all day against Belchase's defense.
No, and a lot of that, Belchase is kind of key on getting pressure on the quarterback. We saw that in the McDonough game. Robert Kennedy was basically camped out in the backfield. He was also able to get some pressure along with some other guys on Eastchef early, which forced them into 3rd and longs where they had to pass and completely took them out of their element. If they can get pressure on Shaw, they're going to turn Shaw into a team that's going to either be forced to run or throwing quick passes and inaccurate passes and things like that, where they're going to have a hard time. If they can't get pressure on Shaw's passing game, then that could spell trouble for Belchase's defense.
And you're actually going to find out what we think about this game and all the other games coming up after the break when we give you our Week 5 and our Week 6 picks. And then we're going to have the trivia questions, which we have a winner this week. And then we're going to preview we'll give you the new trivia question.
Since we're going to break, I mean, why not?
Yeah,
right?
Go ahead, Jason. And as Jason eats, we'll take a time out and be right back with the Plaquemines Prep Rewind from Salvo Seafood right after this.
Hit that.